back to Knit Habits. If you're new here, a big, huge welcome. If you're returning, I'm so glad that you decided to come and join me again and spend some time with me talking about the knitting shenanigans or yarny shenanigans, I guess I should say, that I'm going to get into today. Today I have for you just a featured wrap on my mannequin here. I have some knitting, of course. I have some spinning. I have some yarn dyeing to discuss. Two finished objects, three works in progress that I'm working on currently, and we'll kind of discuss where that's at. Some things have changed, some things haven't been worked on, and some new things have happened. So I hope you will come and join me today. I do have my cup of coffee, my Bones coffee from Bones Coffee Company. And this is just in a mug that my son and my daughter-in-law got me a few years ago. I think it's just from Target. So welcome in. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. My husband and I are going to a Pride event here in Raleigh today, and so I decided that this new t-shirt from Mahogany Mommies was the perfect one to wear. So I decided that this shirt from Mahogany Mommies was the perfect one for the day, both for here and to wear to the Pride Festival. And so this one it features the whole LGBTQIA plus flag, and it says drink water, love all, fight racism. All things that I completely try to live with in my life. And maybe not to drink water as much as I should, but well, works in progress here. So today, just to talk a little bit about this wrap. This is the Flutter wrap by Tiff Neilan. And I did this in a couple of different yarns that I have over here. I have this one, which I believe is by a chick that knits, and it's in the colorway Pegasus. And there we go. And just really pretty slub yarn. And it takes two different slub yarns and then a main color. So that is the first one. And then this is the one that you hold throughout with the two slub yarns. So this is a hypnotic yarn or a yarnable colorway. I have approximately 266 yards of it left, as you can see. It's in the colorway Apple Crisp. So there's that. Just really pretty colors. And then the other one is by Junk Yarn, and the colorway is Vintage Barbie, and it's in the Silly String fingering base, which is 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon, was 438 yards. And it's on a beige kind of a base. It's not really coming up as beige, but gosh, those colors are gorgeous in that slub yarn. All different kinds of colors in there. And so here's the tag. There you go, for Junk Yarn. And so the majority of it is in that lighter color, and then you switch to the other one here. And it's a little bit of a different pattern. It doesn't have the same eyelets on this side as it does on that side. And then I made my first tassel right there. So yeah. I love Tiff Neilan's patterns. Every time I see a pattern pop up, and I may not have looked at who it was by yet or seen who it's by yet, and I look at it and I go, that looks like a Tiff Neilan pattern, and generally it is, because I don't know what it is about her knitting, but she just has a look, and it's one that I just really like. So I'm hoping to make more patterns by her. I have a few in my library, so hopefully down the road I'll make some more of hers. So I just thought I'd feature that today. I am in a different spot. This is just the other side from where I've been sitting the last 3 episodes, and this is just one of my yarn cabinets back here, right there. That's one of my wedding pictures, and then just some books and stuff. So I just thought I would change up where I was sitting a little bit. Um, and let's see, so the finished objects that I have for you, I have a spinning finished object. And I forgot to talk about this last time. It's actually been done for a while. And this is only the second bit of yarn that I've ever spun. And this is just some Wool of the Andes roving from Knit Picks. I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money on wool or hand dyed wool or anything like that until I got spinning down, and you'll see why when I show it to you. This is an improvement from the first batch of wool that I've ever spun, which was at a spinning class that I took at the North Carolina Fiber Festival. So here it is, and it's not beautiful in any way. It has some thick parts and some thin parts. Some parts where you can tell that I choked the yarn to death, and this is just the string that I tied it with. So that's what we have here. I have two of these, and then this is just some orange yarn that I tied it with here. So I have these two little bits, and I'm sure I'll get more out of the yarn, more out of the roving once I get a little bit more better at controlling my tension and being much more even. But even though this isn't the most beautiful thing, it is a vast improvement from the first little bit that I ever did. So that is a finished object there. All right, sorry about that break there. I just moved the mannequin out. It was wanting to focus a little bit too much on that mannequin. The other two finished objects that I have for you are the Insta Slip Cowl by SweaterFreak. And this is a really interesting construction. So you start here, let's see, right here, where this little part is, and then you knit flat all the way down to about where this starts here. And then you start to knit in the round for the other side. And you do that same pattern, but on the other side over here. And then your yarn A becomes your yarn B, and your yarn B becomes your yarn A. And then you knit flat again. So this whole thing is knit flat, except for, I think, only a couple of rows. So it's a really interesting construction. This is made out of Rama, and I have that linked on my project page. And then it ends up here flat again in this little circle, so that you have the same thing as you had on the other side over here. So interesting. It did soften up a little bit, but it's still a pretty crunchy yarn for what it is. You know, Rama's not, it's 100% wool. It's not, you know, a superwash or anything like that. But I think this is going to be just a really nice fall thing. So if you're looking for a quick one that's just a little bit of fun, slip stitches, garter, you know, not real difficult, this is probably a good one, especially in the summer. I think it would probably be a good one to make. So you can see those slip stitches here. And then there you go. And then the inside of it just looks like that. So that is done. It did soften up a little bit when I blocked it, and I did put in probably about a tablespoon worth of just some hair conditioner that I have, just to try to add a little extra softness in there. It didn't bleed at all, so that was nice. I was a little bit worried about putting it in a kind of in a warmer bath and then having the orange bleed into the white, but it did not bleed at all. So that's done. And then the other one that's done is the Italian Summer Scarf by an Italian knitter. And this was done in Ling Yarns Riva in the colorway Bunt, B-U-N-T. So there you go. And I think this is kind of like that, is it the Sophie scarf, I think, that everybody's been making? So it's kind of in that sort of general realm. And that's the biggest part of it. There you go. And has this really pretty, I really like this orangey, bright orange color here. That's fun. And grays and kind of blues and orange. So it's very cute. I don't know that it's something that I would wear a ton. I might put it into the gift pile, but it was a fun, easy make, potato chippy as they say. So that is the Italian summer scarf. Yeah, there you go. All right. And then it just has the applied sort of I-cord. You slip the last, few stitches there. So there's that. And then what am I working on? Well, I know last time I was excited to be working on the Bluegrass by Wool and Pine out of all the scrap yarn. And I told you I did the gauge for that. And I do have that here. Here's the gauge that I did. Turned out just fine. It wasn't huge, but I thought, oh, I have the thing. I can jump right into it. Starts here with this part and then jumps into the rest of it. Hold on one second while I bend over. There we go. And this is living in one of my Knit for Brains bags with just these cute little gnomes. Nice big bag. And then this is the inside of the bag. And so I started it and I did the decrease and the decrease wasn't right. So I started again and I repeated that over and over and over again. I think I've started and stopped this 3 or 4 times. So here is probably the 4th or 5th one that I started. And this is just in a bunch of different yarns. Here you go. It's the front side. And I was doing well until I started doing these decreases up here. And the decreases, instead of being spread out the way it's supposed to be here, were pushed together. And I thought, I don't want to do this for the 100th time. And maybe, as I said before in the last video, since I haven't done much brioche and I hadn't done increasing or decreasing, that maybe this was just a bit much to do right now. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm not going to not do this. I really want to have this finished object. So I am going to put it on hold until I learn a little bit more about my brioche. So this is just going to sit there, and this is being knit on a US 6 4mm needle, Chaogu. So it's like I have the technique, but somehow when I'm doing these decreases up here, it's, I don't know, sometimes they're the way that they're supposed to be, and then other times they're not. They're like smushed together. So I'm not exactly, I don't know what's going on with that, but I thought, well, you know, maybe I'm just a little out of my my ability at the moment, or my understanding of the way brioche and the stitches work. So just maybe put that away for the moment. So that's where that's at. Sorry, I hit the camera. It is just hanging out, and it will get worked on again because I think it's a beautiful project. It's not that the techniques are that hard, but I think that for me, with having to change the yarn and it constantly changing the fore color and the background color, and it's really the decreases that I get kind of mixed up on. So having not done that before, I thought let's back up the train a little bit and practice some other techniques before I jump into doing that more. So what I decided to do is to cast on, and this pattern just came out, the Porto shawl. So in my journey with brioche, I decided that I would kind of, like I said, back up that train a little bit and start with something that only has, even though the other one has only two colors, you're constantly changing what those two colors are, which for me was making it difficult to read the stitches and the patterns. So I decided to cast on the Porto Shawlette by Susanne Sommer. And this is in a yarnable colorway by Hypnotic Yarn. And this one is called Shenanigans, which is perfect. I'm always up to some shenanigans. So here it is. I love this colorway. I love this kind of bare yarn with just a little bit of sprinkles of color. Oh, it's gorgeous. And the colors, I think, are beautiful. Like, look at those. Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous. So there's that. And this yarn and its friend that I'm going to show you here in a second, were actually going to be the Stephen West mystery knit along for last year that I decided not to do. That braiding pattern thing it just wasn't me, and I'm honestly glad that I didn't do it because I just didn't like the end of it anyway. And I usually love Stephen West patterns, but you can't love them all, right? So it is what it is. And so this is the Shenanigans colorway by Yarnable. There it is, the right way. There's that. And this is a superwash merino yarn. So again, that's it. God, it's gorgeous. Love this. The other one is by Knit and Bro, another one that I absolutely adore. There you go. Had this in my stash for quite a while. I believe it's one that was for the Two Sheeps. I'm looking at my Two Sheeps calendar. Colorway that came out in 2020, I believe. And this one is called Under the Sea. This is the tag. And that's 75% superwash, 25% nylon, 450 yards. And I have two of each of these. So it's actually more than the pattern calls for, but that is okay. So far, fingers crossed, this is going well. So here is the way it starts. There you go. There it is. And I love the way it's coming up. The colors are different enough that it's showing up really well as a different, you can see the change to two different colors. And of course that stretchy brioche thing. So this is going well. This only has increases, at least so far. I haven't had to do any decreasing. And so I think this is a really good way for me to practice that. So looking forward to working on this some more. This does have some other sections. It's not entirely brioche. I'll put a picture up. There will be some other sections that aren't brioche, but I thought this would be a good way to kind of maybe get me feeling a little bit better about brioche, maybe be able to read the stitches a little bit more, and practice it a little bit more before I jump into the other ones. So I really love that. Pretty. My other work in progress you have seen before. I'm still working on this one. This is the Lovely Tea by Kimberly McAlindin. And let's pull that there. All right, there we go. There it is. I did split for sleeves. Here you go. As you can see, I have little mermaid binder clips on my barber cord, and I'll tell you why. I was sitting there knitting on it one night or one day and realized that my barber cord had all mostly come out. I think there was only 3 or 4 inches, and this happened on both sleeves where it had just pulled itself out from the stitches on hold. So to not have that happen again, I put some binder clips on it. I don't know if anybody else has had that issue with the barber cord, but it is certainly a frustrating one. So that was not happy, and I'm going to have to fix some of the stitches on the sleeves at some point because they just kind of came unraveled. But needless to say, it will be fine. Nothing, no big deal. I think this is where I was last time. This is just a stitch marker I got 100 years ago in a knit crate box. Just a little skeiny yarn. So adorable. And I don't know about you, but progress keepers for me, I find them to be heavy and they pull that yarn. I don't like that, but it is what it is. So I like this one because it's light. So there it is. Here's the little sleeve. They're kind of, they kind of are stick up right here, kind of bunched together. I kind of love that look. And that's what, when I first wanted to make this, kind of intimidated me. I thought it was going to be this really, really hard technique. And I thought, oh, I don't know that I can do that. And I don't know why we all do that. We talk ourselves out of starting projects that, sometimes you jump into it and you find out it's probably equally as difficult as you thought. And then other times you jump into it and you go, why was I so intimidated to do that? It is what it is. So I've added the inches, split for sleeves, have done about 3 or 4 inches from the sleeve, and am just knitting until I get to the end where I'm going to do a little technique for the bottom. And this is in the Tin Lena by Sandus Garn. Here is the tag. There you go. And there's the colorway number 4234. Really pretty pink color. And I have to say that this yarn, I don't know if anybody else has found this, and it may not be the yarn in any sort of way. It may just be my technique when I'm getting my stitches off, but I find it to split a lot. And sometimes when I'm knitting, I'll come back around and I'll see that there's only one of the plies of yarn on the needle. And so then I have to go back and drop it down and pick up the other plies. And I would love to hear your comments on it because I have found it slows me down. It's been a little bit frustrating with this yarn. Not that I don't like the yarn, it's a lovely yarn, although the stitches seem to be a little bit uneven, so I'm hoping that it will block out even. So you can see that right there. Anyway, I'd love to hear if anybody else has had issues with the yarn splitting. But there's that. That's where I'm at right now. So I'll get to move that progress keeper down so you guys can see I've done quite a bit of work on this one, as you can tell. So there's that. Haven't worked on my green Cress shawl, and not because I don't want to. Well, obviously I don't want to, or I would have worked on it. Not because it's hard, or I don't like it, or I'm not enjoying it. I need to get a better way of doing it. Right now I have the book in front of me. I have a piece of paper that my husband made a copy of the description of the cable stitches on there. and you have to flip through pages. So I think I need to get it onto my knit companion a little bit better. And I think I'll really start to make some progress on it. So that's going to be a goal so I can get moving on the green crest, because it is a really lovely pattern. The yarn, I really like the color of the yarn, the texture, there's nothing wrong with it. But since I have to flip through, and then I'll say, okay, I need to do this cable stitch. And then I flip over to where it is in the chart. And then I look at my copy of piece of paper, and then I forget what it is. And then I have to go back. It's just slowing me down. So I haven't worked on it that much. So that is that project. So that's where that is. I'm hoping the next time I film or I record, no film involved, that I should have that more progress done on that one. But that's just where that's at now. My other work in progress is the Paris Toujours by Isabel Kramer. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. And this is done in a yarn called Harry's Attic Peruvian Tweed, which I don't know why it's called tweed. It doesn't have any tweed in it. It is 100% alpaca. I purchased this yarn when I went to the North Carolina Fiber Festival last year. So, sorry for the break there. I had to pick up the tag. So 100% alpaca. It comes in a skein that is 600 yards. So I actually have 2 of these. So I might make a really long shawl with this. But here it is. And oh, look at that halo. Oh, you can see it. It's beautiful. I love it. It's so soft and so squishy. I don't think it's appropriate for a garment, because I think with alpaca it's just going to get heavy and weigh down, so I didn't want to do that. But it is, I purchased it from a store at the North Carolina Fiber Festival. It's called the Fiber Studio, a yarn to die for in Peruvian tweed. It is 100% alpaca, and it is 600 yards for 8 ounces. And this is, I'm sure I think a lot of podcasters have made this, and it's been on my list. It's been in my queue to do for a while, and I just decided that it was time to get it cast on. So here it is. And it's just garter stitch, and then this really easy 4-row patterned lace. But the way the lace is done, it lays the stitch out forward. So it looks like a knit stitch going down. And then it does this applied border stitch, and then slipping at the end. So you get that nice border there. So I think, as you can tell, it's just light as can be, very drapey with that alpaca in there, and then the garter stitch. So very nice, very easy to follow. I think Kevin and Ray on Needles at the Ready, at least Kevin has done one of these, and I think he talked about how it was an easy pattern to remember. I'm not an easy pattern to remember person. I have to, look at it, but yeah, I don't know that I'll work on it without a pattern, because I'll forget where to do an increase or something like that. But to each his own, right? So there's that. So that's what I'm actively working on. And yeah, I have two of these. My ball winder did not like winding 600 yards of yarn that's this thick. That's the other one. As you guys, it turned out a mess, but anyway, there they are. So we'll see about how big I decide to do that, because it says you can make it as large or as small as you want by adding, extra lace or garter stitches. So I might just keep going, and I might get to the end and decide that I've done enough and I'm done. Who knows? We'll see. See where that one takes us. All right, so that's what I've worked on and what I finished. I did say that I dyed some yarn, and I will show that here. I just got some bare yarn by Knit Picks in their fingering, their stroll fingering, and they were having a sale, so I got some bare, and I decided to have some fun with color. So I put the stroll fingering bare right there. It's 462 yards, 100 grams, and I just had some fun with color. I had a ton of fun with color. I mean, look at that. Look at that dark teal. Oh, I love it. Greens and pinks. So I did 2 of these. This one and then this one, which I didn't, it's same colors, but I used less of the darker colors on this one. So it's just so fun to see how the yarn gets, the yarn picks up the color. There you go. And, you know, just by adding a little bit more or a little bit less of something, what it showed up as. And I'm really proud of these. I was so excited. So those 2 are of the same dyes, the same colors. And then I thought, you know, I'm just going to play around some more with some colors that I really like. And so I used these greens and oranges. Ugh, so fun. And then I went back to some of, I don't know, I thought I did this one and then I thought it looks like an 80s Trapper Keeper. I'm aging myself, and some of you will remember what I'm talking about, but yeah, pinks and purples, and then I played around with some gray speckles on this one. There you go. There you can kind of see those gray speckles like down here. So having fun with dyeing some yarn. So there you go. There's all of that. And then I thought I would add in what I have in my queue currently on Ravelry. And so some dream knitting from my queue. And so some of the things, one of them is going to be the Pinecone wrap by Lisa Haynes. And that just looks like a really fun wrap. It starts at a smaller part and then gets larger, and there's some little intricate pieces in there, and so that looks fun. I have never made, and I know I'm one of the few, but I have never made a ranunculus, and I feel like everybody's making a ranunculus right now. Or forever will be by Midori Hirose. So that is in my queue because I am one of the few that have never done that. I have the Pebble Beach shawl by Helen Stewart that'll be coming down the pipe. Pure Joy by Hohi Locatelli. I feel like everybody has made a Pure Joy. I have not, so I have that. And then the new one that came out by SweaterFreak. And that one just looks really interesting. I have some really lovely yarn here that I'm going to probably use in that one. I believe it is all a Sandus garn yarn that I have too, in the alpaca silk. And I just have I have the tag on there. I've tried using this in other projects that just have not come to fruition, and so I think that pattern is going to be really pretty in these 2 colors, just a black and a white. I think it'll really stand out the way that pattern is written. So that will be down the road at some point for that one. So you know, keep up with me and we'll hopefully see those patterns come down the road, plus other ones I'm sure I'll add in because there's always something new and shiny that comes up, or something that I have that I've have yarn for that I've been wanting to knit. So that is some dream knitting right there. And the next thing is to talk about something that I won. And I will honestly tell you, I almost never win anything. I cannot remember the last time I won something. I have been to raffles and stood around with not even a large group of people, a small group of people, and bought 20 tickets and never won anything. It's just the way that it is, and that's okay. But I actually did win a raffle, and that was from purchasing that yarn bowl from Andy the Knittress, or the naughty knittress, and I will show that to you here in just 1 second. And because I purchased from Andy the Knittress this beautiful yarn bowl that I showed, I think in episode 2, she entered me into a drawing for her yarn bowl, one of her skull yarn bowls. And so I was just sitting there one day eating dinner with my family, and I get a message on Instagram that said, "You won." And I thought, is this real? Is this like some spam thing? And so I text back and I go, "Is this for real?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely for real. I just did the drawing." So that was really exciting. Like I said, I never win anything, so I never expect to do that. So here is the yarn bowl. It's beautiful. I mean, look at that. Ugh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So obviously you put the yarn in and then you pull from here. And in true Andy style, she put in a thank you card, which was adorable. And then she's so good at putting in goodies. And so she got me sent in some of her progress keepers, just really pretty, light. I love that they're light and they're not going to make the yarn hang out. I love that. So she sent 2 of those. These are so pretty. So go check out the Naughty Knittress. She has yarn and the bowls, and just, she's so talented and she's so sweet. So definitely go check her out. And then of course, shouldn't be of course, she sent me some tea that I'm looking forward to having. A magnet. So there's her information. And then one of her new stickers, she was talking about this on her podcast, so you should definitely go check her out, that she had new stickers and they are as fun as can be. So I will add them to my cabinet right there. Oh, anyway, it's one of the large ones, so it's a large size. I think I can, let's see if I can fit one of those big old 600 yard. Yeah, look at that. Fits right in there. So that's perfect. I mean, that's a lot of yarn. You guys saw how big that was. So just put that in there and work away. So that'll be really fun. So thank you, Andy, for your raffle and having it choose me, or it chose me. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And go out and support her small business. Go check her out. She's absolutely fabulous. So there is that. The last thing that I wanted to discuss, the last thing that I wanted to talk about as far as therapy or therapeutic things or self-soothing goes, one of the things that I often will talk to people about in creating techniques or things for grounding, different things that you can use for that. And by grounding, I mean when you feel your emotions, let's say, I always put them on a scale. So 0 would be numb, be no emotions. 50 is kind of what I call your baseline, that place that you hang out where you're just calm, nothing is upsetting, you're not extremely happy, you're not extremely sad, like you're just in a normal day, right? So 50 is kind of where you hang out for that. And then anything above 50 is whether, it's a positive emotion or, an emotion that maybe is a little stronger, maybe not quite as positive as happy, but something in that realm. and it can go up to, let's say, 100. When you are so upset that your emotions are anything, I would say, above 65, it's harder to get those coping skills to work, right? And I often talk to people and they say, I tried that coping skill, it didn't work. Well, when did you try to use that coping skill? Like, how upset were you when you tried using that coping skill? Because we have to have kind of an arsenal of skills, I always say, in your toolbox to use, right? That you can pull out and say, I know that this coping skill works best for me. And it does take some time. I'm not saying it's easy. It takes some time to realize where your emotions are. And I often talk to people about kind of keeping a journal or keeping track of those emotions and kind of where you're feeling them. So let's say, at 65, as far as putting your emotions on a scale, you know that you become flushed, you kind of have a heated feeling, maybe you get a tightness in your chest. So being able to physically understand where you're manifesting your feelings so that you know what works and when. And grounding is where you realize where your emotions are, and then you take them back, try to get them as close to that 50 again as possible, and really be able to ground yourself and be quite better at being in reality. And when I say, being in reality, what I mean is being able to be present in the moment. So often, all of us, myself included, we get lost in the past and things that we can't fix because they have already been done, and worrying, as we all do, about things in the future, right? Things that couldn't happen, may never happen, those sorts of things. So what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is making what I call a self-soothing box, and having and this can be, a fun thing that we can creatively do. You get a shoe box, or maybe you buy a special box somewhere and you maybe embellish it with stickers or paper or your own artwork or stamps. I think that you can do whatever you want with it. It's your thing, right? And it's just a thing that you have that you can pull out and know that you can try to use it to soothe, calm, and get yourself back to that more grounded, I'm at a 50 place again. So some of the things you can put into your self-soothe box do encompass your senses, right? Bringing you back into that moment, bringing you back into the present. So some of the things that you can do are, or put into your box, are with things that you can taste, right? Bringing you back into that moment. So whether that's maybe a sour candy or a tea or coffee, chewing gum, some water, some chocolate, the popping candy is on there. So just little things that, maybe a piece of chocolate, that's always a good one. So things that you can also look at. I would say, for me, I think I would probably put in a picture of the beach. I love the beach. It's very soothing. You could put an eye mask in there, a nail file, maybe notes or cards from loved ones, scented candle, something like that. Some favorite, a coloring book with some crayons or some colored pencils. And then smell would be the next one. So a scented candle, like I said before, would be good. Some essential oils, maybe having a diffuser that you put some essential oils in, some incense, maybe even a little pouch with some lavender or something chamomile in it, something of that nature. Or even maybe just like a silk scarf, something that's soft. It could be some alpaca yarn or something that, you find to be really soothing. Sounds, maybe you pull up a guided meditation on YouTube, some nature sounds. Some people really like, it would wouldn't do me any good because sounds that repeat themselves just make me on edge, but that's okay. Some people might like a metronome, um, white noise machine, things like that. And then distract. So things you can distract yourself with, whether it be a noise, a fidget toy, your knitting would be great in that one, a handheld game, maybe a little puzzle, something like that. And then just some mindfulness things, bubbles, maybe a gratitude jar, maybe things that you like. Some people really like positive affirmations. Maybe you have some favorite quotes or verses or something like that. And then lastly, you may want to write down, sorry for the crinkling, I have notes here. You may want to write down some contacts, people that you can call and talk to. Maybe you have your employee assistance program number on there to speak with a therapist. So just some ideas on some ways of self-soothing, ways to look at grounding. And there's a lot of, maybe you write down on a piece of paper some other grounding techniques that you have that would work for you. So I will put a link to some websites that discuss self-soothing boxes and things that you can do for that. And if this isn't your thing for you personally, or this doesn't match what you need for your life right now, that's okay. But maybe you'll talk to somebody, or somebody will come to you for some support, and you can help them with some ideas on things that they can put into their own self-soothe box, or you can really connect with another person and help them create their own self-soothe box. And it's something that somebody can pull, you just leave on a shelf and they can pull out whenever they need to have that there. And so you could potentially be somebody that says, hey, I heard about this thing, and it might help you. And if it does, then, thumbs up. That's awesome. Let's do that. So just some ideas that I decided to throw out there. And if I hope it helps. I hope it helps you or someone else. And just to throw out there again, if you'd like to send me an email with your finished objects, again, I would really like to be able to share those on there. I still haven't gotten any, and that's okay. But if you do want to share, maybe your first name and what your finished project was, and the yarn that you used, or whether it's spinning, crocheting, knitting, cross stitch, whatever it is, I'd like to be able to feature somebody else as well. So please email me at knithabits@gmail.com. I will have that linked below. And if you could please go ahead and, if you're watching this, just subscribe, like, and ring the bell. I would greatly appreciate it so that I can grow my channel and hopefully reach more people with, therapeutic needs, as well as just connect with people on one of my favorite topics, which is yarn and knitting, all of those things. And so I look forward to spending some time with you all again. And hopefully I will have some video of our experience at our Pride Festival. And go out there and give yourself the same grace that you would give everyone else. And take care. Bye-bye.